Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am so excited to share some Christmas cards with you. Now I know here in Canada we just got through Thanksgiving this past weekend and Halloween's not for another couple weeks, but us crafters need to get started early on our handmade Christmas projects, right? Right. Now I just noticed I'm getting notifications here. So I am going to turn off notifications so that we don't get interrupted. There we go. All right, so as I was saying, it's time to start thinking about Christmas projects. I know that seems crazy, but if we're gonna make handmade Christmas cards, we need time to order the product, we need time to make the cards, and then we need time to get them in the mail. So now's about the time we need to start thinking about it. So today I am all about the beautiful Peaceful Deer bundle from the Holiday Mini Catalog. Now I'm gonna show you 2 Christmas projects and then 1 alternate project that could be Christmas, but it could be anything because this stamp set is good for more than just the holidays. So before we get going here, let me see who has joined me. Let's pull things up on my iPad. Hi, Debbie. Oh, we got Debbie and Deb. The Debs are here. And we've got Donna and Judith. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies. So as I was saying, we are all about the Peaceful Deer bundle this week. Now, I am well aware that the Deer Punch is on back order till the 1st of November, which seems like a really long way, but it's really not. It's only like 3 weeks. And it's one of those things, right? Stampin' Up! Is having the same kinds of supply chain issues that every company is having right now. There are ships sitting out in at port waiting to be unloaded, and it's just a fact of life. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that punch comes in sooner than November 1st. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you how to use just the stamp set without the punch and on 2 projects, and then we'll use the punch on the 3rd one. Okay? All right, let's see. Oh, Laurel's here. Hi, Darlene. Hi, Bonnie. All right, I'm ready to flip the camera and get to it. Are you guys ready? All right, give me a sec. I'm going to flip and we're going to get to some stamping. There we go. That looks pretty good. Tighten that up so it doesn't go anywhere. There we go. All right. So, Peaceful Deer bundle includes the Peaceful Deer stamp set and the coordinating punch. Now, as I mentioned, this punch is currently on back order, so you can't order the bundle right now. You can get the stamp set. As I said, the punch is due in stock November 1st, or you just wait and get the bundle together. But let me tell you, the stamp set all on its own is pretty fantastic. And to be honest, the deer images are not that hard to fussy cut if you can't get the punch. So, let's get to it. I'm going to move the punch out of the way. And I am going to show you how to make this card. Now, I posted this earlier today. This is a super easy, like crazy easy birthday card, or not birthday card, Christmas card, I should say. And it's made easy because of the fantastic Designer Series paper that's in the background. Now, I've used some of the Peaceful Place Designer Series paper. It has this gorgeous silver metallic accents on every sheet. Now, I should mention this is also on back order right now, but not for long, okay? So this paper is just stunning, and it has these sheets that have 4 panels that you can cut into card fronts. So you can see I used one on my sample, and I've cut another one. Now, this is cut to cover the entire front of a card. So it's 5.5 by 4.25. And then I have my thick basic white card base. It is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4.25. So I'm going to go ahead and fold along my score line to start. And we are going to go ahead and glue our DSP panel right onto the front of our card. Now, usually, if you've watched my videos for any length of time, usually I have a bit of a border on my card. So I don't typically have my top layer going right to the edge of my card base, but this DSP is so beautiful. I wanted to get as much of the gorgeous background image here, the trees, as I could. So I just made it cover my entire card front. So I'm just going to apply a bit of glue here. Whenever I'm doing this kind of thing where I'm trying to cover a surface really precisely, I like to use the liquid glue because that allows me just that little bit of wiggle time to make sure I've got this adjusted exactly the way I want it. So we'll just burnish that into place. Isn't that pretty just as it is? You could just stamp a Merry Christmas and be done. but we're all about the peaceful deer set. So we are going to color and fussy cut some deer. So I have done Mama Deer here. She is stamped in Memento Tuxedo Black ink and then colored with a light smoky slate Stampin' Blends. I didn't use the dark on this. And then just a little hint of light petal pink on the ears. Okay, and then I fussy cut it out. So there's Mama Deer, but we are going to stamp Baby Deer. And before we do, we are going to add some spots to Baby Deer here. So this stamp, for the longest time, this little stamp here, I couldn't figure out what the heck it was for. I thought maybe they were supposed to be like footprints in the snow from the deer. Then I realized it's to add spots to make a young deer, right? Because baby deer have spots for the first, I don't know, year or so. I'm not sure how long deer have their spots. If anybody knows, leave it in the comments. So I'm going to ink up my little spots here and just add some spots to my little baby deer, my sleeping baby. And then we're going to go ahead and color them. Okay. Oh, you didn't realize there were silver accents, Kelly. Yeah, this paper is gorgeous. The silver is what makes it wowza. All right, so I am just going to very carefully color around my spots because I want them to stay white. So I'm just going to color the rest of my deer here. I'm using, again, my light smoky slate. All of our Stampin' Blends come in combo packs. You get a light and a dark shade, which is awesome for blending. But for these guys, I wanted them to be quite soft. I didn't want to have really dark color. So I just opted to use only the light and to actually use the light layered to add shadows. And I'll show you how I did that. So I'm just going to finish putting down my first layer here. So when you're coloring with Stampin' Blends, these guys, this ink is alcohol based. So it will run and bleed a little bit. So when you're coloring, you want to not go too close to the edge or to the line of your image because it will bleed ever so slightly. Some colors bleed more than others. Dark colors tend to bleed more than the lighter ones. So I have laid down my first layer of smoky slate here. Then to add some shadow, I'm just going to come in and add shadow where I think there should be shadow, right? So kind of under the chin here and sort of under the neck and the belly. So we're just going to add a little bit of shadow. Now as that dries, it's going to blend in with the rest or my first layer, and you're just going to get a little bit of shadow there. Okay, so that's one way to blend using only one shade. All right, now I'm going to add just a little hint of petal pink. This is light petal pink. I'm adding to the ears again. And there's my sweet sleeping deer. Now we're going to fussy cut them out. So these images are not difficult to fussy cut. The key to successful fussy cutting, first of all, is leaving yourself a little bit of a border. So think about when we die cut or punch an image, very rarely does it come right up to the outline of the image, right? There's always a little bit of a white border. And that is just really allows a little bit of room for error. And it also frames our image nicely. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a white border all the way around my deer here. The other thing when you're fussy cutting is you want to make sure you have a really good pair of scissors. Our paper snips are fantastic for fussy cutting. If you are someone who doesn't want to spend money on scissors, you'd rather spend your money on stamps and ink, let me tell you, having good scissors is a total game changer. If it were me, I would buy my scissors before I would buy a single other supply when it comes to stamping, because having a good pair of scissors makes all the difference. The other thing when we're fussy cutting, if you notice, I'm moving my paper rather than my scissors. So I'm keeping my scissors fairly stable and I'm moving my paper as I cut. Okay, so there is my little baby deer. Hello, Melinda. All right, so now these guys are going to get popped up on the front of my card, but if you can see here on my sample, I added just a little bit of definition to the snowdrifts where they're laying because, well, let's be honest, we don't want floating deer, right? And I just realized I forgot my smoky slate ink. Let me grab it. There we go. So we have this image, and I'll show you on the stamp set. It's easier to see. This image right here, it's kind of just, it's a couple of lines, but it really adds some definition and keeps your deer anchored so they're not floating in space. So I'm just going to ink this up with a little bit of smoky slate. And I'm going to add a couple of snowdrifts here. We'll do this one here, I guess. Just like that. Okay. And that again is going to allow our deer to not look like they're floating. Okay. Last time I checked, the only deer that fly are Santa's reindeer, and these are not them. So we're going to keep our deer from flying. Hi, Jill. It does look monochromatic, Melinda. I agree. I was kind of going for that look. Very sort of monochromatic and serene. So I'm going to add a large dimensional and a couple of minis. Okay. And then when we go to do the legs of our mama deer here, I'm going to show you a little tip. So you can actually kind of see here where I have already cut my minis in half, but I'm actually going to cut them again. So I've actually cut, so I've got these little narrow little strips, and they are going to go on my mama deer legs so that they're not floating in space when I add her to the front of my card. So the easiest way to maneuver these little tiny bits is with the tip of your take your pick. It is your best friend. Every crafter, again, these two things right here are every crafter must have. They both make your life so much easier when you are crafting, whether it's stamping or any other craft. All right, so our mama deer is going to go here. Our baby deer is going to be resting in the snow here. Okay, so let's add our mama deer by getting rid of our backings. Peel all these little bitty bits off. I missed this guy. Helps to have fingernails when you're doing those little bits. So there's our mama. And then we're going to add our baby. Hi, Karen from Iowa. Thanks for stopping by. We're making some Christmas cards today because, you know, it's time. All right, so there are our deer. Now we're going to add a sentiment because that's really all this card needs. It's got so much shimmer from the silver foiling. So we're going to stamp our sentiment. This is a 1.5 inch-ish circle. And we're going to use this stamp set from this sentiment from the stamp set, Sending Love and Peace This Season. I'm going to stamp in black ink. That's all goopy, so we're going to use this size. I'm just going to center it in my circle there. Super easy. And then we are going to layer that onto a die cut silver foil circle. So this is cut using the Tasteful Labels die set. And it's cut from the silver foil multi-pack, the specialty pack that is in the mini catalog. And it has this really cool dark gray foil. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to my stamped sentiment and layer that. And then I'm going to put this a little bit lower this time. I feel like this one's just a little bit too high. So we're going to put it a little bit lower, improve on the original design, I hope. So we'll get rid of our backings here. And we're just going to kind of nestle that just a little bit lower, just like that. I don't know. Which do you like, higher or lower? I think I like it lower. I don't know. That's just me. All right, everybody. How quick and easy was that? Like, so simple. The hardest part is fussy cutting the deer, but really, really quick and easy Christmas card thanks to that gorgeous DSP. All right, let's move on. This next one is one that I made to showcase the fact that this does not have to be a Christmas set. We can use deer imagery for all sorts of occasions, and I thought it would be kind of cool to make a masculine birthday card. So if you have a hunter in your life, I personally don't, but my dad used to be a hunter, and I know lots of people who are big hunters. This would be a really cool birthday card, even for just an outdoorsman, not necessarily a hunter. So I'm going to show you how to make this. Super simple, again, but really effective. So to start, let's set this aside. I have here a piece of Kraft cardstock. So this is the 6x6 Kraft sheets that are in the mini catalog. It is 4 by 5¼ inches, and I've embossed it using the Evergreen Forest embossing folder. Now, I wanted to add a little bit of definition to the trees in this, so I'm going to bring in my Mossy Meadow ink pad and my blending brush. And I am just going to add a little bit of ink over that raised image. And you see how the trees, especially the trees in the foreground on the folder, start to pop. We start to see a lot more definition from them. So our blending brushes, if you have not tried them yet, they are a dream. They are awesome for doing exactly this, for adding color to an embossed image. We have sponge daubers, which are awesome too for blending, but a little bit trickier to add color to a raised image like this. Now I'm actually going to continue all the way around the edge of my craft piece because I just want to add a little hint of sort of that forest green to the edges of my craft cardstock here. Okay, now I could certainly keep going and bring that out even more, but that's just enough. That's all I need. Okay. All right. Thanks, Krista. I love it too. All right. So next we have here a piece of Beauty of the Earth designer paper. Now, when I first glued this on, I was really just looking for something green that would kind of be like a meadow or a clearing in the forest. But then once I started assembling this card, I realized that the variations in color here actually look a little bit like shadows. So this was meant to be a moon rising, a full moon rising. And when I added this piece, it actually kind of looks like shadows from the deer and the trees. And I thought, oh, how cool is that? One of those happy little accidents. Do you ever have that where you don't really intend for something to look one way, but once you start working with it, you get a cool little surprise. Happy accidents, I like to call them. Now I should mention this piece is 1.5 by 4. It's really just a little offcut that I had kicking around. So we're gonna add that to the bottom of our emboss panel. Thanks, Karen. I love adding that little bit of definition too. It just makes the color really pop. So we're going to add our Mossy Meadow trees. Now these were punched using the Evergreen border punch. Now this one is in the annual catalog. It's easy to miss. It's part of the Evergreen Elegance bundle. And this border punch, when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, who needs a punch that punches a bunch of evergreen trees? The answer to that would be me and you, because it is really a fun accent to add to any kind of nature-based card, as well as Christmas cards, obviously. So we are going to pop up our trees, and our moon is going to kind of be rising from behind the trees. Now, before we glue these on, we need to stamp and fussy cut our deer. So let's set that aside. I'm going to pull in this little scrap here and my Memento black ink. So I'm going to ink up my deer, and we're going to stamp him. Let's just make sure he's fully inked. We're going to stamp him right there. Now, for this little guy on my card, I actually fussy cut it, but in the interest of time, I'm going to use my punch because this guy does coordinate with the punch. Not hard to fussy cut, but again, just because you guys already watched me fussy cut one project, I figure you probably don't want to watch me cut another one. So I'm going to line up my deer image in my punch and pop that out. Now, Melinda, this punch is currently on back order, but it's due in stock in a couple of weeks. So keep an eye on the online store. It's one that it's a really great punch. If you're going to get the stamp set, it's helpful to have the punch. All right, so we're going to color our deer. So my color scheme for my deer this time is both dark and light soft suede, and then I use a little bit of crumb cake for the inside of the ears. So I'm going to work in sections. I'm going to kind of work on his haunches first. So I'm going to color the entire back half of my deer here using the light soft suede. Now when I'm doing detail, I like to use the brush tip because it has a nice fine tip. Now over time, you may find that your brush tip starts to fray a little bit. That just happens. That's just a wear and tear thing. These markers are not meant to last forever. They are a consumable item. So over time you may find that you'll need to replace it. But I love that tip because it's nice and fine. All right, so then I'm going to come in with my dark soft suede. Now you can see my dark soft suede, the tip is a little bit more frayed. I'm not sure how well that shows in the video, but trust me, it is. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow there, sort of along that rear leg and kind of underneath the belly here. And then I'm going to blend that out. Now, the reason that I'm kind of doing this in sections is so that the first layer of ink doesn't dry completely. You don't want it to have time to set up completely because then it becomes really difficult to blend. All right. So if you work in sections, it is much, much easier to get your inks to move and to blend as you're layering. So this time I'm going to go up kind of as far as the chin there. I'm going to come right around. I'm not going to do the legs just yet. I'm just going to kind of come to here. All right, and just give a chance for that ink to blend in. And then I'm going to come back with my dark and add a little bit of shadow along the belly and then along the chest here. Okay, a little bit there. And then again, we're going to blend that out. Okay, the beauty of these markers is they are so easy to work with. They blend so beautifully. As long, again, as I said, you don't allow the ink to set up completely in between layers. Okay, all right, so now we're going to do our legs. We'll come down here. I hope you're not getting my head in the camera. It's really hard to color without looking right over top of your image and seeing the lines anyway. Hopefully that you guys can still see and you are not seeing the top of my head. Okay, and then again, I'm going to come in with my dark. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow just there. And again, I'm going to blend that out. Okay. So don't be afraid of these markers. I've had people tell me, oh, you know, they don't know how to use them. They're too hard to use. It's, you know, it takes an art degree. I am not an artist by any stretch. Take my word for it. You can ask my mother, who was my grade 4 art teacher. There's a reason I like working with stamps. It's because somebody else does the drawing. I'm just stamping them and coloring them. Okay. So here, I'm not going to do much shading on the face. I'm just going to kind of add a couple layers of the light. And there we go. Okay, pretty simple. I'm going to add a little bit of the crumb cake inside the ear. And that's that. Okay, now you can see I went out of the lines in a couple spots. Not the end of the world. I'm not going to sweat it. Now, the really cool thing about this stamp set is that it comes with a separate set of antlers. So if you look here, we can make this a male deer by simply adding antlers. Now, obviously, when you're using the punch, you can't stamp the antlers because they don't go with the punch. So rather than have to fussy cut antlers, I thought, well, let's strategically place our deer in front of the moon so I can stamp my antlers on the moon and then line my deer up where I want it to go. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to take the moon here. I'm going to grab my early espresso ink as soon as I figure out what I did with it. Oh, I grabbed soft suede instead of early espresso. Look at that. You'd think I would know my colors by now. All right, so let's grab our early espresso. Thanks, Krista. Oh, Darlene, you can be a good colorer. These markers are not hard to color with at all. So I just want to make sure when I'm stamping my antlers that they're a little bit angled. They're not straight because my deer's head is a little bit tilted, right? So I'm going to just kind of stamp them right about there. And then when I go to glue them on, it's the antlers without fussy cutting. Awesome, right? Okay, so we're going to lay all of our pieces out just to kind of get an idea where we want them to go. My deer's going to go there. Okay. And first thing I'm going to glue on is my moon. So we'll add just a little bit of adhesive. And again, liquid glue is your friend when you're trying to, you know, wiggle stuff into place. So we'll put that right about there. Okay. And then we're going to add our trees. Now these guys we're going to pop up and they are sized just right for mini dimensional. So I'm going to put one every other tree except for this end one because it's right at the edge. We don't want it to catch. So we'll get rid of our backings here. Thanks, Darlene. Yeah, Krista, I wasn't too keen on the idea of fussy cutting out those antlers, so I had to come up with a solution. And that was it. Stamp them, don't cut them. That's the moral of that story. All right, so there is my deer. We're gonna add him. Now he's already popped up because he's on top of the trees here. I am gonna add a couple of little bits of mini, and I have some little bits here from the last card, these little teeny tiny corners here. We're just gonna add those little bits to the back legs so that when they are hanging off the trees, they stay stuck down. Okay, so we'll get rid of these little guys. And we're gonna add a little bit of glue to the body of our deer. And you know what? I think I'm gonna add a mini dimensional to the head just to be on the safe side. There we go. Okay, so this is going to get lined up with our antlers. There we go. There's our happy little jumping deer. All right, now that is ready to get glued onto our card base. So I have here an early Espresso cardstock base. It's 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we'll fold that in half along our score line. Oh, you just ordered the tree punch, did you, darling? You will love it. I am using it a lot, especially for holiday cards, but it's great for doing any kind of naturescape. So it's a great punch. All right, so we'll add a little bit of tape to the back of our panel here. We're gonna pop that on, centered on our card front. So you can see this is typically the way my card fronts go. Okay, I usually have a bit of a border. But on that first card, I just thought, well, we're gonna do it a little differently because I wanted to showcase that gorgeous designer paper. All right, last touch is our sentiment. So this is just a little 1/2 inch strip that's left from cutting the panels for the insides of cards, right? When you cut these quarter sheet panels, you get a lot of these little strips. And I like to use them as much as I can. Where did I put there it is. Thought I forgot my stamp. So I have my Let's Celebrate stamp. So we're going to ink that up in a bit of early espresso and hopefully stamp this fairly straight. Not bad. It's hard to do, again, when you're not looking directly down on what you're stamping on. And then I'm going to bring in my handy dandy punch. This is my tailored tag punch. It is my go-to for making little banner ends. So you simply slide it in, back it off a little bit, and punch. Insta banner. Okay, this also punches a really cool tag, but I use it more for this than I do for actually making tags. Now on this end, I want to allow myself a little bit more room because I'm going to add a bit of linen thread to this, assuming I remember to put it in. No, I did not. Holy cow. It's a good thing my head's attached. I forgot everything today. All right, so we're going to take a little bit of linen thread. And I didn't want to add a bow. I just wanted a little bit of a subtle texture there on my label. So I'm going to take and press a glue dot onto the back of my label here. And then I'm just going to take one end of my thread. I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to crisscross it a little bit. And then press it again into the glue dot. So just a really simple bow-free way to add just a little subtle bit of texture. And again, reminds me a little bit of like lacing or lashing on a tent or on like a hunting jacket or whatnot. Okay, and then this is going to kind of tuck onto the bottom, and I thought it was kind of fun to have the deer sort of jumping over my sentiment. So we are going to make that happen. We're going to add a couple of dimensionals. And then when we pop this on, I'm going to do 1 foot on top and 1 foot underneath as I stick this down. Hopefully straight-ish. Okay, so it kind of looks like the deer is jumping over my little sentiment banner there. Okay, but again, a really quick masculine birthday card for any nature lover, honestly. My mom, I would actually give this to my mom because my mom is in a constant, they live up in Northern Ontario. She's in a constant battle with the deer who are constantly in her garden. So she would even get a kick out of this card. So that is card number 2. Hope you like that one. Let's make some room here. Clear away some of my mess. Okay, last card, I was going for something totally different. Completely non-traditional color palette for Christmas. but I actually really like it. So this is Soft Succulent, Blushing Bride, and Sahara Sand. Totally unexpected for the holidays, but I think it works. So let me show you how to do this one. So I've just got some scrap white cardstock here. We're gonna start by stamping and punching our deer. So the sentiment on the deer says, "Oh, what fun." And honestly, I think that that is enough. You don't even need another sentiment on the front of this card, or at least that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So I'm not worrying about another sentiment. So we're going to ink up our deer and stamp him. Oh, that's not very good. Let's try that again. Make sure he's evenly inked. That's better. Let's try him down here. Much better. All right. So there is our deer. And again, you could totally fussy cut this guy, but in the interest of time, I'm gonna punch this out again, just so you guys don't have to sit and watch me fussy cut again. All right, so quick and easy. There's our little deer. The punch also punches some antlers. Okay, now for this guy, I wanted, it's a guy that likes pink. It's a guy deer that likes pink. So we are going to add some glittery pink antlers to our deer as soon as I find where the other one went. There's one. Where'd the other guy go? Where are you, antler? Oh, I heard it. Where'd it go? There it is. It was caught up in my ribbon. All right, so there are our antlers. And before let's go ahead and glue our antlers onto our deer first, and then we'll do some stamping. So I'm just gonna take and press a glue dot onto the back of the head of my deer. And then we're going to add our antlers. So they go like that. So all I'm going to do is just press them into place on the back of my deer. Just like that. Okay, so they're stuck to the little glue dot there. Okay, all right, we're gonna set him aside. And on this strip, so this, again, I had a ton of this DSP left over from an event I did this summer. And I've got lots of these strips, these 6 by 2 inch strips. So I've been trying to use them up. This one I actually cut down a little bit. This is 1.5 by 5 1/4. And we're gonna stamp some trees because I wanted to add a little bit of interest behind my deer. So there are lots of tree images in this stamp set. Let me just pull it back in again. So we've got this big one, we've got a group of 3, and then 2 groups of 2. So you could make a whole forest with this stamp set, but I'm just gonna use this group of 2 and the group of 3, okay? And I'm bringing back my soft succulent ink, and I'm just gonna kind of work my way across my strip here. I'm varying the height of my trees. I don't want them all to look the same because, well, forests do not all look the same. And we're just going to add a little row of trees as we kind of work our way across our strip. We're going to make these guys a little bigger. Whoops, got a little bit of a mark there that we're going to cover just like that. Okay, so this light colored DSP, it is Sahara Sand, but it's really easy to stamp on. So this is your friendly reminder that it is totally okay to stamp on designer series paper. Okay, a lot of the time we forget that designer series paper is in fact paper and we can stamp on it. Okay. Oh, you like the colors, Karen? I am not really a non-traditional color kind of gal for Christmas, but I actually really like this color combo, so we're gonna go with it. All right, so this is a little bit of the brushed metallic gold and rose gold paper that's in the annual catalog. This paper is so gorgeous. And this is cut, so I mentioned this is 1.5 wide, so this is 1 5/8. So it's size, so I just have a narrow little border peeking out top and bottom from behind my little forest there. So we're gonna add some tape and we're gonna layer our forest on the shimmer. Okay, I am a firm believer that every Christmas card needs to sparkle. So we have a sparkly forest, which is totally legit as far as I'm concerned. All right, so this is some more of the Tidings and Trimmings designer paper. This is a piece that's 5 1/4 by, or sorry, yes, 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And that is going to get layered just like that. So let's add a bit of tape to the back of our strip here. Now, if you're like me and you struggle to get things straight, use your grid paper. If you have not purchased grid paper, You need to get some. I don't care if you laminate it so that you can use it forever, but it is your best friend when it comes to lining things up. It's also handy to have a ruler right there. Just saying. All right, so now we are going to adhere our card front to our Blushing Bride cardstock base. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Hi, Martine. Thank you, Karen. I'm glad you like this one. It's amazing what just a little bit of stamping on designer paper does. It just adds so much more. So let's add a bit of tape to our panel here, and we'll pop this on. Again, we have that little border all the way around, okay? And then we're going to stamp on our circle. So here I have my, what is this? A 2.5 inch circle, 2.5? 2 1/4. And we're gonna add some snowflakes. So there are some snowflakes in the stamp set. So we're just gonna stamp a few of those in the soft succulent, just to be consistent color palette wise. And I like to make sure when I'm stamping with this stamp, I like to make sure that I'm kind of rotating it a little bit so that my images are not all the same. Okay, I kind of want to make sure they look a little bit random. And then we're going to bring back our blending brush. I'm going to get rid of as much of the Mossy Meadow as I can here on my grid paper. And then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to add a soft little hint of the soft succulent to my circle, just so that it's not quite so stark white. I just wanted it to be a little bit softer. You can certainly soften this down with the Blushing Bride or the Sahara Sand as well. That would totally work. Okay, so there is our circle. Now we're ready to add our deer. So we're gonna pop him up on our circle there. We're gonna use some minis and full-size dimensionals. So I like to use a big dimensional on his butt and his belly or his chest, and then a mini on the head. Okay, this time I'm not going to take the time to add some little strips there to the feet. You certainly could do that. I'll probably go back and do that after the fact, just so that it's nice and secure. Okay, now before we put this onto our card, I'm not sure how well it shows on the camera, but I have some of this gorgeous organdy ribbon. So this ribbon also is back order. All of my favorite products right now are on back order, which is a real bummer. But the good news is they're all coming in time for holiday crafting. So do not fear if you haven't got your hands on some of these. So I didn't want to add a bow to this because I really wanted this guy to be the focal point of this card. So I'm going to do this little zigzag ribbon trick, which is a great way for those of us that are maybe a little bow challenged or bow phobic, afraid of tying bows because they feel like they aren't good enough. We're just going to do this little zigzag thing. So I put some tape down on the back of my circle here. And I'm kind of making a capital letter N, okay? Or a Z if you turn it that way, or a Z if you're in the US. And then I'm going to trim this off, okay? And you see how that just adds a little bit of shimmer, subtle bit of ribbon peeking out. Okay, can you see that? All right. So that is going to go on the front of our card. Again, we're going to pop that up because we can and because I'm a little bit addicted to dimensionals. If you are new here, you will learn very quickly that I am a dimensionals addict, and I'm not ashamed. All right, so we're gonna pop that on. We're gonna put it at a bit of an angle, just because I like my deer at a jaunty angle. There we go. Now to finish this off, I wanted, again, to kind of echo that sort of iridescent shimmer. So I'm gonna use some of these opals. So these are, again, from the annual catalog. And I'm just gonna add a few of these little guys, sort of peeking out around. Let's put one, where am I gonna put them? I'll put them right here. Okay, and that beautiful sort of iridescent shimmer is echoed in the ribbon. So those two embellishments work really well together. All right, done and done. On the inside of this one, I stamped another sentiment and some more trees, just to kind of bring a little bit of the inside, or the outside, excuse me, the outside in. So let me bring back all three of our cards. There we go. Okay, so Christmas, non-Christmas, but this totally could be Christmas, right? If you did Let's Celebrate and you put Merry Christmas on the inside, totally works. All right. Okay, everybody. I hope you like those ideas. This is a great stamp set. As I said, not just for Christmas. If you are a nature lover or have a nature lover in your life, make some great sort of nature themed cards as well. All right, everybody. Bows and bling. You've got it, Krista. That's the other thing I'm always doing, right? Bows and bling. No bows today, though. Did you notice? No bows. We still got ribbon, but no bows. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me this week. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you again next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.